In this video, we're going to rank all the guns inside Warzone Season 3 to let you know which are the best and which ones are the meta weapons. After the Season 3 update, we've got such a diverse range of guns that are actually viable inside Warzone, and I do know that there's some weapon balancing still to come to the AMAX, as well as the Bullfrog, and also the Street Sweeper shotgun. If you enjoy weapon stat breakdowns, weapon comparisons, and overall tips and tricks for Warzone, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we're trying to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers. Also click that link in the description down below and subscribe to our second channel. We're trying to reach a goal of 100 subscribers over there as well, and any support would be appreciated. But let's kick off the tier list with the Cold War AK. Now, the Cold War AK is a gun that I've never really liked, and I've never really liked the AKs all that much at all, to be honest. But now, since it's been buffed with its recoil, it's definitely close to a meta weapon, and I would probably say it is a meta weapon. I will put it up here because it has such a low time to kill compared to every other assault rifle other than the AMAX and maybe the AS-Val, but that's kind of more like an SMG. The AK-47 from Modern Warfare is not quite as good. It does do a lot of damage, don't get me wrong, it does do a lot of damage. It just doesn't have the movement that you get with the Cold War one, so I'm going to put it in usable for now. I could move this around. AMAX is definitely meta. We don't really need to talk too much about this because everyone knows why it's meta. AN-94 is definitely usable. I wouldn't say it's garbage or anything like that. AS-Val could be up here if it had a slightly larger magazine. I think it'd probably be everyone's first choice as an SMG because it has such a low TTK. It's going to go in top tier for now because it does have a small magazine. You can only take out maybe 1 to 2 enemies inside solos or duos with it. The AUG is still usable. It's not the best long-range weapon anymore, in my opinion. You can still get away with using this if you are a really good player. Then we have the FAL. Now, the FAL is definitely usable as well. It's something that you can get away with using now because the TTK of the overall game has been increased, and that means that you have enough time to kind of spam this weapon. So the FAL is definitely usable, like I said. Then we've got the Farah 83. The Farah is definitely a meta gun at the moment. It's the main reason why you see everyone using it as an SMG. It's just got insane movement speeds, and that is why I do think it is one of the meta guns. The iron sights are relatively clean. You're not really using this as an AR, even though you could do that as well if you built it correctly. And the time to kill is not too bad either. We've got the FFAR, and even though it's been nerfed, and probably nerfed quite hard actually, I still think it's a meta weapon inside Warzone. A lot of people are still using this gun, and it still has a really good time to kill, really clean iron sights, insane movement speeds once again. I think once the movement speeds of all the Cold War weapons get nerfed, all of these guns will move around once again. Of course, it still has that insane strafe speed, so you definitely still want to use the FFAR. Oh, the FR556. I know a lot of people using this semi-auto, and it does do decent, but how viable is that really when you're playing Warzone? Do you really want to use this gun semi-automatic? Not really. I'll put it in garbage because it's still garbage, man. And even burst fire is just like even worse than semi-auto, so terrible gun. Grau, I do think Grau will be meta. I do think Grau will be meta once the AMAX gets nerfed. But at the moment, definitely top tier. Probably still in meta kind of thing. But at the moment, I do think it is top tier. It's just lacking that movement speed that you get with the Cold War guns. Groza, definitely top tier as well. I do think the Groza is very viable if you can control the recoil. I do think the Groza is a great gun. Currently, the iron sights are bugged on this for some weird reason. I don't know why. Kilo, again, is another one of those ones where I do think it will become meta. Personally, I prefer the Grau because it has less damage drop-offs, but I do think the Kilo will be another option for everyone out there as well. Then we have the Krig, and the Krig is definitely a meta weapon. It's a meta weapon now, and it'll be a meta weapon when the AMAX gets nerfed as well. I think everyone will move over to start using the Krig. It does do a bit more damage than both the Grau as well as the Kilo, and we've made a full comparison video on this channel about that, and we'll leave it linked at the end of this one. It also has little to no recoil, especially if you use that SUSAT multi-zoom. Then we have the M13 assault rifle. Now, I was a huge fan of this when it was in Season 1 and Season 2 because it was so easy to use, but I don't think this gun is as viable as these other guns up here. The TTK in this game is already pretty slow now, and it does make this gun a bit more viable because of that reason, but I feel like I'm still trying to get towards guns that have a slightly faster TTK, and the M13 does not have a fast TTK. We all know that by now. The M16, I think the M16 is still a meta weapon. I think it's still very good to use at long ranges. The burst delay now, or the timing between the bursts and the fire rate, is a lot slower than it was before, but it's still a very, very good gun regardless, and the recoil is much better than the AUG's recoil pattern. Moving on into the M4A1 now. So I think the M4A1 is either top tier or meta. I really do like this gun. I'm going to put it in meta for now because it does have a faster TTK than the Kilo and the Grau. It's just as easy to control as both of these guns as well, and it is a great option overall. And like I said, once that AMAX gets nerfed, I do think a lot of people will move over to using the M4 as well. Then we've got the Odin, and the Odin is usable, but it's not really viable inside Warzone all that much. You can get away with using this gun, but it's not the best. Next, we've got the Type 63, and I don't think this gun is all that good. You can still use it as ground loot, I suppose. The strafe speeds are absolutely insane with this gun. It's the fastest in the game, but the TTK is just so slow that it doesn't really matter how fast you strafe. You're still going to get outgunned. So I'm going to put it here because you can still use it as ground loot. Ram 7, I think the Ram 7 will be either meta or top tier, especially after, like I said, that AMAX nerf. But at the moment, I put it top tier because it's not quite as easy to control as the M4 in my opinion. Then we have the Scar. Scar's definitely usable. I think we've been over this before. Unless it had a bigger mag and a little bit less recoil, I don't think this gun's going to be all that top tier. But you could definitely use it at kind of medium to close range. It's definitely a gun for that kind of distance. Next, we have the XM4, and this is definitely a meta weapon. It has insane strafe speeds, just like the Farah and the FFAR, but it actually has a faster TTK up close than those two guns now. So if you do want an SMG replacement AR, the XM4 is your best option in my opinion, better than both of these. So I would definitely recommend the XM4. I definitely think it's a meta gun at the moment. Cold War MP5, definitely top tier. I think this is a top tier SMG, regardless of the recoil. The TTK is very similar to what you'd get with an AS Val. Recoil is difficult to control, but that's what makes this gun balanced, and it's still very, very viable. The MP7. The MP7 has now become more viable because of the higher TTK in the game now. Actually, I'm going to move these two guns down because they're not quite as good as the MP7. The MP7 does have a better close range TTK than these two guns here. Then we've got the Striker. I would use my fist. Fennec, I think it's definitely usable. The Fennec's definitely a very usable SMG. It has a faster TTK than the MP7 and some of the other SMGs in the game, but it's definitely very usable. The only issue with the Fennec is a small magazine that you burn through very, very quickly. Then we've got the Modern Warfare MP5, and again, it's top tier for sure. It's not got the movement speeds of these Cold War weapons, which is just unfortunate. But it does have an amazingly good TTK regardless. Uzi, definitely usable if you've got the 80 rounds. AUG is definitely usable if you've got the 5.56 rounds. DMR is usable. Type 63 is garbage. Both of these guns are very similar, but the DMR is just better because the recoil is better. KSP, I would use my fist. Milano, it's more viable than it was before, but I would use my fist. LC10, meta SMG for sure. You land a couple of headshots with the LC10. It actually kills quicker than the MAC-10, which is insane now. PPSH, now I love this SMG right now. I don't care what anyone says about the TTK. It's just an overall, if you build this gun right, it's absolutely insane. It's such a good SMG to use, and I don't think I've lost a gunfight with this SMG up close, even though it doesn't have the best TTK. I love this SMG. I hope they never change this gun. It's just so good in my opinion. Then we've got the MAC-10. Again, I think it's a meta SMG as well. It's got a good TTK. It's got good strafe speeds. Not quite a good TTK as the LC-10 if you're landing your headshots, but still good nonetheless. Bullfrog, I think, is the best SMG in the game still. I know a lot of people are still using all these other options, and I prefer the PPSH. But statistically, the Bullfrog is the best SMG in the game, and I think most people would agree with that. AK-74U, I think is usable. I don't think it's great. It's not quite as bad as these guns here, but it's definitely usable. Origin Shotgun. The Origin Shotgun's okay, but there's better shotguns out there now, so I'm gonna put it in garbage. I'm not a huge fan of shotguns, as you could probably tell. Street Sweeper is meta right now. Street Sweeper is the meta shotgun at the moment. Oh man, this gun is so annoying. I hope they nerf this, and they did mention they're going to nerf it in some tweets, so Gallows top tier. It's not quite as OP as the Street Sweeper right now because you do need to spam it, but it's still a really good shotgun. The Hauer shotgun, I still think this is a decent shotgun as well. Is usable. The Cold War shotguns are overall better than the Modern Warfare ones in my opinion. Not good anymore, it's kind of garbage. It could be usable, to be fair. I would pick it up if it was ground loot. Model, I would just use my fists. VLK, garbage. Jack 12, I'd put it in usable. 725, garbage. This is the M82 LMG. I hate this LMG. It's so slow and the recoil is so bad. I've died so many times thinking that I've got a full auto gun, I'm going to kill people and pretty much lose the pistols at this point. So I'd just use my fist. I would not touch this gun. RPD, definitely usable. I'd probably put it in garbage because I've tried building loadouts with this gun and it's not that great. It's only good as ground loot, to be completely honest. So I'm going to put it in garbage because I just don't think it's that good if you're building a loadout with it. Whereas all these other guns, if you make them into a loadout, you can use them very well. We've got the Stoner. Stoner is probably a better LMG than the RPD, so I put it in usable, but still not the best LMG in the game at the moment. Holger, definitely garbage. Again, if you build it the right way, you could get away with using it. MG, this one is viable. Fast rate of fire, decent TTK, but it's not got all that big of a magazine and the recoil is a wee bit hard to manage. Next we have the SA87, and I think this is a top tier gun, and I'm going to say it right now, I do think this is going to take over from the AMAX. It's got decent handling, which is very similar to the AMAX actually. The TTK, again, is not as fast as the AMAX at the moment, but it's close, and the recoil is a bit more balanced than the AMAX. The AMAX is very easy to control. The SA87 is a bit more difficult to control, but if you can control the recoil on this gun, you get some insane TTKs. PKM, definitely the meta LMG in the game right now. I think it is the best LMG in the game. Easy to control, big mag, good time to kills. M91 or something like that. Usable gun. It's definitely a usable gun. Not the worst LMG in the game, not the best LMG in the game either. Brune, again, I do think is a meta weapon as well. I do think a lot of people are not using the Brune at the moment, but once the AMAX gets nerfed, like I keep saying, because I do think it's a lot more along the lines of these weapons here, and I do think the PKM is slightly better than the Brune at the moment. Finn LMG is usable. It's very similar to the M13. It doesn't really hit as hard, but the recoil is really low. Tundra is no longer the best sniper in the game for bullet velocity. True Game Data's made a video on this going over bullet velocity, so the Tundra I'm going to put as usable. The M82 sniper rifle, I would use my fist. This gun sucks. Pellington, I would use my fist because I think this gun sucks now. Again, the bullet velocity on the Pellington has been reduced as well. So they basically nerfed the Tundra as well as the Pellington with the combat recon barrels, so it's no longer good. Plus, I hated the Pellington in the first place. So whoever likes the Pellington, AX50, it's still a usable sniper. I mean, you could definitely get away with using it. So you could put it in usable. Dragunov sucks. Okay, I'll put the Pellington in garbage, okay? I'll put the Pellington in garbage, and then we've got that. Rytech, I'd use my fists. HDR, it's a top tier sniper, to be completely honest. It's still got decent bullet velocity, and overall handling on Modern Warfare snipers is slightly better than the Cold War ones, in my opinion. ZRG, which is the best bullet velocity sniper now, so if you want the best bullet velocity values, then you need to use the ZRG. It's 30 meters per second faster than the HDR, and overall handling's pretty good on the ZRG as well. The Swiss sniper, there's almost no reason to use this gun. It's basically just a bad Kar 98 overall. The Pellington's actually better in some cases as well for like reload times and stuff like that. So I would rather use my fists over the sniper. SPR, again, a meta sniper rifle in the game right now. I highly recommend it. Overall movement, handling and stuff is very quick. And it's got slightly better bullet velocity values than the next gun, which is the Kar 98, which is also a meta gun for sniper rifles. Sniper rifles are a huge meta in the game right now, and I think these three snipers are king. We've got the MK2 carbine. I think I would put it in garbage. It fires a little bit quicker than the Pellington, and that's probably one of the reasons why I'd pick it up. But again, it's not one of the best guns in the game. EBR, garbage. I'm going to put them down and use fists for the crossbows. SKS is slightly better than the EBR and the carbine in my opinion, but again, it's garbage. So now moving on into the secondary weapons or the pistols, we've got the 1911, which to be honest is slightly better than using your fists. I'd probably choose it over some of these guns actually, I'm not even going to lie, I'd probably choose it over a lot of these guns that are down here, but I need to put it down here. Actually, I'm going to put it in garbage. I would use it over some of these guns. Daimatis, definitely usable, 100%. Single, akimbo. M19s, again, very usable if you run them akimbo. These are the best akimbo weapons in the game right now, especially in terms of TTK. So if you're looking for akimbo weapons, the M19s are the best. Runettis are just a bad Daimati pistol at this point, so I would not recommend using these whatsoever. I'd put it down here. It's not very good, is it? Snake shot pistols, if you run these as snake shots, they can be usable. Definitely not as good as these two here, the Daimati and the M19s. I'm actually going to move the 1911s down as well. Psychovs, definitely up here. Single or dual, they're both great options as well. Deagles suck. 1911 from Modern Warfare sucks. So there you have the Warzone meta tier list, and let us know what you think about this list down in the comments below, what you would change. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we're trying to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers, and also subscribe to our second channel as we do make extra content over there as well. Thank you very much for watching.